Okay, I would like to call this meeting of the New Philadelphia Finance Committee to order. Good afternoon, everyone. I thank you for taking time out of your busy days, especially on one of the few sunny days we have in Ohio, to be here, but I think it's very important that we get this done. I want to open just by thanking sincerely the auditor, the mayor, all the department heads, Mr. Kreinville, for your help in this matter. It's truly been a difficult process to look at this budget and try to figure out how to make it work. And I appreciate all of your hard work. And I'd also like to thank the council and this committee for your patience. I know it's been difficult as you watch the calendar counting down to the end of March to say, are we going to have numbers? Thank you for your trust. And I think we have something that we can work with here. It has been a tough journey. And, you know, unfortunately, in this budget, we were not afforded the opportunity to make a lot of choices. You know, a choice is basically, do I get red shoes or blue shoes? We had to decide if we could even afford to have shoes, okay? So this is not a budget of choices. This is a budget of decisions. What can we live with? What can we put off? What can we look at again later? And I know it's hard to work that way, and I appreciate everyone's efforts in this. It has been a team effort, and it hasn't been fun. I enjoy your company, auditor, but this has not been a fun process for any of us. In the last year, and so far in 2025, we've seen our revenues from the income tax especially starting to level off. I wouldn't say they're reducing, but they're leveling off in growth. In past years, we've seen 8, 9, 10% growth. Now we're seeing 4.5. Unfortunately, inflation hasn't worked that way. So, you know, we're trying to make amends, to make things work where we can. And, you know, we want to be good stewards of the citizens' money. We also want to continue to give the high level of service that our residents deserve and expect from us. And I think the effort has been made here to do that without cutting services, without cutting people, but looking at other expenses we could cut. And as hard as that is, I appreciate the hard work that went into it. So thank you all for your dedication to the process. Mr. Mayor, Service Director, you made it sooner than I thought you would.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Shocked him. You didn't hear that either, Ted.
So I believe everyone here on the committee and the council members received an electronic version, and I've also put a print version on your seats. There are a couple other print versions up here if somebody wants to take a look at them and have them on your desk for reference. They are there. At this time, I would basically open the floor to the committee for your questions regarding what you've seen on this proposed budget, and we will just start the discussion. Don't all come at once. Is there anything you need? I know it was a quick turnaround for all of you. Is there anything you've seen that you wish to question or wish clarification upon? Mr. Ramos?
So I noticed in the little time we've had to look at this, that office supplies have gone up like 50% for a lot of the departments. Is that,
I would say that's in keeping with what we've seen in price increases and
Price
inflationary
increases
movement.
or
So
use, or both?
What's that?
Price increase or use, or both?
Probably price increase.
you really only need one. Okay.
He has friends back there.
Okay, okay. Any other points of question that you'd like explained? Yes, Mr. Lonzo.
In the law directors, 101-07, I know that's the rent lease, but I was curious on the 101-07-0054-200. It's on the,
Is that on page 2?
I think so. Yeah, well, page 3, I guess it would be. professional, or what is that? Maybe it's on page two.
Law director's on page
Law
two.
director's on two.
Yeah, okay. Operating supplies, you know, most years, we would budget like 8, and then last year, I think we budgeted 6, but I don't see where we actually spend it. But it's up to $11,000, you know. Is that the same thing, just cost of?
If I read this right, we've got 6,000 in the proposed, don't we, Heather?
The submitted budget was 11,000, but
It was reduced
under
to
the
the
six.
code
Oh,
that
okay, I
says
got you.
2025
Yeah,
budget, that's
yeah.
one of the
Okay.
ones that I.
Yeah, for clarification, the things that are over on the right was what was submitted.
Okay.
We kind of put that out there
That's
so you
right, I
could see some of the
remember you
moves that
saying
were
yeah,
made.
Yeah, now that, sorry about that.
Since we didn't have meetings ongoing to explain those kinds of movements, the auditor was gracious enough to submit this with kind of those handwritten notes of this is where we went with this project or this process.
And
So
I
yes,
did
it
move
is still.
some of that, I did keep 6,000 in that, but I did put 3,000 up in, we created a new account line called Shared Technology. And I created those accounts in several of the departments, because the service director's office pays some citywide bills for departments, so that we'll get one invoice
So that's what
before-
the $3,000 difference?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that'd be probably for the Pioneer programming,
Okay.
maybe the Glow Fiber, the internet cost.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, those were mixed in with accounts that they would normally use. And then towards the end of the year, we'd be running out of money in those accounts because different department, you know, like I said, the service director's office would be pulling from it and the mayor's office is pulling from it, so.
Okay, that makes sense
Yeah.
then. I just was curious, because I mean,
Yeah.
we would always go under budget on that item, and then
Yeah.
this one was an increase, I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't increase anything.
No, I was just curious.
Yes, sir, Mr. Crandall.
Have we gotten anywhere, last year we had this conversation about the treasurer with professional services, which is Ray and Associates. How are we doing with those bank recs? And is there any chance that at some point, potentially, we could get back to doing that in-house, or is that gonna stay where we feel that we gotta keep using Ray for that?
I'm hoping next year we can be doing that in-house in January, starting in January. But we do have a contract for them to finish out 2025.
Okay.
I was happy to see the office supplies go down to 100.
Other questions? Yes,
Well,
Mrs. Ramos. Go ahead.
Sorry. So we were just, to dovetail with Mr. Cranbell's question here, I'm looking at the treasurer here. Where is that, for the contract we have with Ray and Associates?
It's in the professional services,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
500,
30,000 or whatever.
3402.
Okay. And I had another question.
Go ahead.
Okay, for the economic development under the mayor's budget, it's $35,000. What's that for?
That's to finish the master vision plan and also for possible money to contribute to a Transportation Improvement District grant and any other economic development opportunities that come in this year.
And what would that transportation grant be for?
At this point, I don't know, it could be 12,000, it could be 15,000.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, the plan.
Oh, for the I-77 interchange project.
Okay.
You mean that wonderful thing we have on the west end of town?
Absolutely. But we have to have some money in reserve in case we are asked to contribute.
For planning and.
Yeah, for
Yes.
planning, for the engineering study.
Right.
And, I had
Go
another,
ahead.
sorry.
You still have the floor, man.
That, speaking of the engineering, I saw there was like $70,000 for engineering costs here. Let's see. I just had it, I flipped my page.
Yeah, give us a page number so we can get with you, if you don't mind. Those of us with old eyes have trouble seeing that little print.
Right. So I put it electronically so I could blow it up so I could see it.
We're looking at.
It's, Master Capital, my page numbers might be different than yours, but it's 23 on mine. It's Master Capital, 437-7700-53401. It's under the Fund 437 Master Capital. Get towards the back.
Definitely not 23.
Yeah. On the printout you've got, it's probably 26, Chris.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
Page 26 on ours, yeah.
It looks like we've had stuff there every year.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I was just wondering specifically what project that's for.
Be for multiple projects. Actually, it's down, and I think we're gonna need to probably increase that. I don't know what happened with that 70, because actually, if you see in 2024, $109,000 spent. So anytime you have, the amount of projects we have, you have some preliminary engineering that goes into it. This year, naturally, had some for the pedestrian bike lane. We've got some for the small cities paving. There's stuff that goes throughout the year that the project might not be for this year, till this year, but there's engineering all through that time, throughout the year.
So that would include any of your sewer projects, anything like that that we have to
Any of
do?
the preliminary stuff I pay
state
for, and then
project,
once that
yeah.
happens, then it goes over to Brian and any project.
And we
with the
transfer back.
preliminary stuff.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, preliminary stuff though has to, like you said, the last year was 109,
Mm-hmm.
216.
162,
Yeah.
yeah.
It looks like you originally submitted 220,000, but then that meeting that we had when we needed to pay some of the other, with the cruisers and the perk, needs a lot of maintenance, then you said I could reduce that to 70?
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, we're gonna need to change that.
And we project some other monies in that fund that if we have to go back to it, we can.
Yeah, if we wanna address it later
Yeah.
on the year, that's fine, Heather, that's no problem.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, if you don't, I mean, just for
It's
sakes
just
of
to,
going,
yeah,
yeah, I'm fine with it.
balance the budget at this point.
Because also, I didn't realize until today that the mayor had some in that economic development, because that's another spot that I may have to go out for that 77 interchange. But I wrote that down, he thinks he may have 12 for that, so that 12 can actually go on that 70, so that's 82, so I'm getting, not where I wanna be, but something we can address later, probably October if it has to be, something like that.
So it seems like, while I was trying to learn how to do this budget, in the past, we would pull from different line items for certain projects, and I'd rather, if we can, just transfer money into the lines and try to keep the project all in one account,
Yeah.
or when
So we know what we're
we have to
spending
do
where.
reporting at the
Yeah.
end of the year, I know exactly where to go to find how much we spent on a certain project.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing, and especially in engineering, like say, when we did phase 2 this year, That's just 99% is gonna be brine or wastewater because of that, so, and then depending on where it is. Mine is more used for if it's park related, because they don't have any engineering funding, so that's where mine typically go towards. Or if we do small cities paving, or anything like that, any of those type of grants we gotta go out for, that's where it's always jumbled through there in that. But park, cemetery, same way, naturally it'd come out of my engineering, so there's certain ones, naturally, they're enterprise funds or anything like that, it comes out of mine.
Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question. Under the park, in that same section, 5204, there's a pretty drastic, and it's highlighted in yellow, so I don't know if that means something that I just am not aware of. It went from actual of 324 last year, now it's 100,000 this year. So is the funding coming from someplace else, or we're just cutting the budget by that much?
For that one, when he submitted his budget, we didn't have it in master capital. We had it in the 101-3100 is the parks budget. And so I moved it from 101-3100 from general fund into the master capital, and that's why I highlighted it with yellow. Anything highlighted in yellow is a number that was changed that wasn't submitted in the original budget, so
Okay.
just to stand out.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
For Vicki, page 7,
It's right under that same thing you were looking at.
it's 101-27005-3501, the environmental health. I was just curious, up to 10,000 for that one, but, I mean, I know we, in the last few years, we haven't spent, I don't know if there was something special with that, or.
Which account was that?
101, 2700.
3501.
Environmental health, fourth one down.
Yeah, fourth one
I
down.
can say that in the
Page 7.
past, the budget would be split in half because she has the two funds.
Okay.
This year, she wasn't expecting as much grant money. And so another thing that I was
I
trying to
mean,
do
we had
different.
budgeted quite a bit before for it and stuff.
Yes, and we had it in the other fund, the 251.
Right.
So whenever you're looking at just the 101-2700, I moved some of those expenses from 251 into the general fund because we won't get enough grant money to cover the
Cover it.
expenses
Okay.
if I leave them in 251.
All right, thank
That
you.
was basically leading that was my next question is, why did the health department from the general fund go from 299,000 to 561,000? So they're expecting to get less grant money in, that's why?
The only thing I can speak to when I met with Heather is that that's what I know for sure we're going to be getting. And I don't want to commit, we're constantly looking at grant opportunities and ways to raise revenue in our department and to consider it to the general fund. But that's what I knew for sure. That's the numbers I gave her.
And Vicki, a lot of that money from previous years was a lot of the COVID
That's right.
grants and
That's right.
such. That's why that number,
Grants are just-
we got a lot more of it covered.
Not always-
Well, I'm just, because that's a $260,000 increase.
But if you would look at the years, I know, if you look at the years before COVID, it was probably similar to that. I mean, not quite as high, but we've got a lot of that money, I mean, a lot of those
The
things
last
are
5
coming.
years, we had a big stream of COVID money.
COVID money, yeah.
And workforce development, and so that was, bonus money that we
Mhm.
hadn't ever seen in this department in my 14 years. But, some of that money has ended, and these are the dollars I know I can depend on coming in this year, as long as we have the changes at federal level.
And something that was done in the past was whenever a department such as the health department had two funds to pay from, sometimes they would take wages out of general fund, sometimes they would take it out of the other fund. What I am doing different to make it easier for me to track, I had our payroll person create a pay code to do 50-50%. so we don't have to switch back and forth. And we'll see how that goes. I may need to change those percentages, but right now it's working that, every pay, 50% comes out of general fund, 50% comes out of that other fund. So in doing that with her other expenses in their department, those I can move as a requisition comes in. I can decide which department, or, you know, which fund to use.
Which line
So-
it comes from.
I made sure that all the wages were 50/50 in those funds, and then there really wasn't much left over in their 251 fund for any of the operating expenses, so that's why I put all of the operating expenses in the general fund. Hopefully, if she gets more
More grants, the
grants,
number
then
gets.
we can, yeah,
Then we can move
we
that.
can shift that, yep.
And I assume there are more grants that we are looking for, obviously, but
That's always a given.
there's never a guarantee. I write
No,
enough of
never
them.
a given. That's why I could say to her, I'm gonna try to bring another, you know.
Right.
500,000 in, but
Yeah.
I can't promise what I don't know, right? So, we continue to always look for ways to
Great.
ease the.
Are there some grants out there that you're looking at now?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
We've got our eye on it, but often it's hard to find the ones that cover salaries.
Right.
and Things, those are kind of rare to
Mhm.
find. So you want to really ease the general fund, you find salary money, you know, and that
Yeah.
helps with the fringes.
Vicki, in this budget here that's proposed and everything, is there pay increases in this?
There's not.
Okay.
I guess that's a good question as a whole. There's no pay increases in any department
I
in this
didn't-
budget,
No,
correct?
in doing the budget, I just started out with the same wages as last year, see if there's money left over to give increases, and there's not really,
So right now, but just to clarify, there's not a single employee in the city,
no,
bargaining or non-bargaining, currently getting pay raise,
no.
correct?
I did not figure
Okay.
any pay raises in for anyone,
You did have to account for insurances going up
yes.
in this budget, so that
And
is
they did go up,
already in.
And they went up a lot.
Yes.
Which goes back to what you were saying, that there might be more money left over if the insurance comes in lower than.
Yeah, if it comes in less than the 20, we expect a 20% increase starting in July. With that being said, next year, whatever
you
the
don't know.
increase
It's gonna roll
is for this
through.
year, we're only at half, you know, we're
Yeah.
only figuring the increase from July through December. So then next year will be that increase over the full year, so.
But, yeah, I wanted to make sure it was out there that that is in this budget, that has been accounted for. Other questions of either the auditor or department head? Mr. Ramos?
For the auditor, we just talked about insurance and increase. Have we looked for another provider that would be cheaper?
I think we have to stay with our current provider right now. If you look in the last page, let's see here, that shows what the value is, and, let's see. And so they say, from what I understand, is that, we need to stay with them for a few years in order to kind of start getting that value to be not a negative. Right now, I'm expecting the way it's going right now, we'll have $1 million deficit in that, because it's a self-insurance fund.
Right.
So we have to track this value. If we were to get out of this fund, we would have to cut them a check for that amount. But they say the longer that we're in it, the better the value is for that.
We can spread those costs.
Right, you build up a reserve.
Right.
That eventually will zero out any increase in, yeah,
now we have
according to Pipes Insurance, who's the broker for this, if we were to shop this, we would be paying probably 30 to 40% higher with other carriers, so.
How often, because I mean, it's impossible, you cannot shop your insurance every year because it doesn't make any sense. How often do we typically do it as a city?
About every 3 years,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Any questions from the various department heads who are here and willing to help?
I did have, and I'm worried about it because I was looking at our, like our HR, we got human resources. And, you know, she only spent 17,000 last year. Oh, I'm sorry, page one.
I'm on page, so I could go back.
But what I'm worried about is, with 23,000 there, I don't think that'll get us through one unit, would it, chiefs? Right?
You mean for bargaining?
Right, because we know where we're going.
I would guesstimate $60,000.
Right.
Or 20,000 a piece.
Yeah.
Typically.
And if she
That's what it's
spends,
been in the past.
she spends 18 just on the norm, I think that's gonna need to be increased. Because, like I say, it was 17 she spent last year, so that only leaves us 23. You know, I think we're,
You're talking professional services.
right, that's where she always took it out from, like with negotiations and that. We're definitely gonna be short on that, because we all know where we're gonna go with the bargaining units. They're not gonna lay down on it.
Seems like we're always budgeting under it though, and revisit it later in the year usually.
Well, I can tell you right now, we'll visit in about a week, if you start going with somebody, if you start opening one book up for 17,000.
So I see 2023, we're at 76,000. Is that,
Well, we had
That's what we
arbitration.
spent.
Is that
An
something else?
arbitration
okay.
for a firefighter,
That's not typical,
no.
but I can tell you right now, at 23,000, you might get one unit done with that.
But we only, like last year, we spent 16,000.
We got,
No negotiations last year.
No negotiation.
so we got.
You're talking
40 budgeted.
23,000 over what she spent last year.
Right, that's all we've got above and beyond what she spent last year was 23,000. So you're gonna give each unit $6,000 to go bargain and everything. Everybody's always typically gonna go to, oh, why can't I think, chiefs?
Arbitration?
No,
Fact
but
finding.
first, no, but what's first?
Fact finding,
No, but they always have that
Conciliation.
conciliation.
mediator come in or whatever, you know, you kinda sit down and try. But yeah, your guys are right, that's gonna be the $6,000 per unit right there probably. I'm just saying, we're gonna be short, whatever this body wants to do with it, I guarantee you're gonna be short. 100%.
So how much should we add to it?
What's that?
How much should we add to this?
I'm gonna listen to these guys, or, I'm sorry, and I know there's Chief Bahovia and Chief.
Do I remember right, wasn't it typically about $20,000 per bargaining unit in the past years? I mean,
Now, are we taking both AFSMI or just one for 20,000?
Great question. Well, you don't have the extra step though that these guys have. So that'd be one less step. So I think you could get away with 60 more.
yeah, it's truly just a guess.
Oh, it is.
I mean, you don't know, so it plays out, so.
So if we got 23, so say 40 more,
Yeah, you're right.
so
That puts you in line with what you had in 2023, or what you spent in
So 80.
23.
maybe 80, Heather?
So add
So it
40?
would be 40 more.
40 more.
40
don't-
more?
40 more,
And what's-
yeah,
That'd be close to what we
What's
spent a couple
budgeted?
years ago.
Right,
right.
right.
We don't have 40, so we'll have to cut something from here.
Would it be fair to anticipate that would probably take place in July, August, right in that time period, by the time we march through this contract?
I don't know how
I
long
don't
ago.
know.
Because there's a timeline for
Oh, yeah, once you write it.
mediation, conciliation, fact finding.
And it's dependent upon their schedules, not ours.
I would truly, personally, this is just my opinion, it's not worth a lot, but a lot of times we stop at fact finding because the unions don't wanna spend the extra money to go to arbitration because there's a high percentage of time that the arbitrator agrees with the fact finder. Those people sometimes are
Same
the
hat.
same people,
Sure,
just
just different hat.
an arbitrator today and
And
a
a fact finder tomorrow, absolutely.
Typically,
handy.
the unions don't take that step
It's a racket.
to go to the next step. to
Right.
go to
I
arbitration.
find that
Not
my
to say
findings
they
were
don't,
right.
but
Yeah, we probably need to visit, I mean, yeah, it's gonna have to be changed, so whatever we have to switch out. I would say, Heather, whatever we have to do there. But I just, well, what did you have in your professional services, Mayor?
My
But-
professional services.
I know you usually have
Yeah,
some,
we
but-
can,
What do you have in there? Maybe
He
we
has-
can get a little bit there?
I've got
Uni has
4,000
$4,000.
there.
Oh, that's it?
$4,000.
Oh, forget it. I don't know why I thought you sometimes had more.
We'll give you 10% of it.
Forget it.
You can
Forget
take
it.
half.
And 10% of his office supply.
Forget it. I don't know why I remember having more than.
Mayor's budget's pretty tight, man.
Yeah,
Always has been.
I don't know why I thought you had more, but that's fine. I just, we all know how that's gonna go, and we might as well prepare for it, because I don't know that there's gonna be anything that doesn't go to that far. So I think the money's definitely gonna be spent, with our attorney, unfortunately.
You've cut this pretty much to the bare bone now. What was there was one other thing we talked about, we added back. What was it?
Sidewalk program.
Oh, sidewalk program. And we didn't do that last year, right,
That's
Ron?
23,000.
And you didn't wanna, the goal was to not get rid of that 2 years in a row, because then it,
I did get a lot of
Yeah, there's been a lot of.
gruff over it, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's a great program, truly is. I mean, if you're out there getting ready to do it, it is. But, yeah, I mean, whatever this body'd like to do, but, I just know that when that professional services out of Fort Lacey, that's not gonna, and she gets panicky about that stuff, she'll be like, I didn't know, so.
No, this is a good point.
It is.
Yeah, you're right.
The judge and I were just talking, if we could interject, if
Yes.
you don't mind. In looking at, as I announced at the last meeting, Magistrate Daley has taken another position. So Heather, if it helps this cause, if we look at the referees line item, Judge, what amount would you
Yeah,
say?
well, that 110 is, I mean, that isn't all general funds, right?
Then
It's
it's-
county made some.
What's the number on it?
Yeah, I think you had 120 in there, and then I dropped it 10,000, so you said that you wouldn't have them, or you wouldn't be replacing them soon.
Because of my caseload, my magistrate took a job in Summit, not because of my caseload, he took a job in Summit County.
Yeah.
And because of my caseloads, I made a decision not to replace him. So I'm just,
Judy, where are you looking at?
Page 8.
Page 8,
Which line?
101-35005-1123.
my case is going way back up, I may regret it, but I.
Judge, I was wondering, I know like you said, the decline in the cases last year, is that because of the state highway patrol being
It's
out
just
of
because
Cambridge
of a
now?
lot of changes to policing and a lot of state highway patrol, there's a lot of reasons.
Probably
Then,
seeing
like, the
fewer
safety director
marijuana
told
now.
us too, that like since the pandemic, a lot of people weren't staying out till 2:30 in the morning anymore, and you're not getting all those bar fights and domestic disturbances late at night.
Well, we still have the domestics and the bar fights, but we don't have as much other stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of reasons for it, I don't know how to really analyze that, but in any event, I'm just showing Judy and.
I have to
there's
think
like
that
It's
the,
actually only 56, right, or not, or are we speaking
It's
out of
around
turn?
just wages without any benefits. I had budgeted for around 55,000, for the city's portion of his or his, wages. I think you already took 10,000 off,
Yeah.
so.
Cutting it close, oh, I don't know if you can find money anywhere else, but we can,
if you need, you find your 40 there.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
You think I can drop it another 40? Is that what you're?
Well, you took
let's
10.
see.
And I had budgeted 55,000.
if my caseloads go way back up, Tessa, then I'm gonna regret mine.
Well, you just have to come
Keep 'em
back
calm,
and see
Tessa,
city
keep 'em
council.
yeah, you're gonna have fewer marijuana cases now that it's legal, so, you know,
Well, thank you, Judge.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I know we've been here, arguing the other way for some other things, and I think that's what the whole process is about, is the give and take and trying to work
Appreciate
together.
that.
Trying to help out, yep. We're all in this together, yep.
So you're saying, then, Judge, so, I don't know where you're at. 40 out of that one, Heather, to leave them 50,
What's the number?
leave them 70?
We've already taken 10 out.
Yeah, but
You
it's
take like
recognized
40
you're at
out.
110.
Yeah,
So it leaves 70?
So you take that down to 70.
70,
And
that's
then you
what I said.
So
add
that
40.
means to cover the other?
Take
Just
40
for
out of,
wages,
Is that enough to cover Chris?
out of referee and put 40 in personal services for HR.
What's the fund number, Steve?
Oh, right here,
Let's
Here
see.
at,
We might need to sit down with Heather, because I do have two
Yeah. 2, 3.
magistrates, they're both in that number. We need to make
Well,
sure
that-
in terms of the benefits and stuff, but we may have, I mean, maybe you gotta have this right now, but I don't know if there's anywhere else you wanna be looking at, and then we could make up the difference.
Heather, how much would that
With-
leave in there?
I have about 70, and I think,
Okay,
I
so
think
that should be
that'll cover
fine, because Magistrate Weimer's, just wages with no benefits are, I had budgeted 64, almost 65,000.
that's what I.
So we should be fine if we leave 70 in there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Because the county pays 40% of the
Okay.
magistrates as well, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you again, Judge, that's
Is the
awesome.
city entitled to request reimbursement on
We brought this up several years ago. Under revised code 1901, certain positions that are paid 60% by the city and 40% by the county includes the health insurance premiums. So there are certain positions for which the county should be reimbursing, can be reimbursing
Oh, I know.
the city for the health insurance premiums. That is not something we can factor as an in and out in our budgets. It's gotta be from the city to
to the
the
county
county.
and back.
County gives you the,
We'll revisit that with Heather.
and I can give you the code section.
It's in the past, Beth, I don't think she was always.
And Marvin, you were in on that, but then we weren't. I know you and Bob Stevenson probably had communicated.
Yep.
So I don't know if you can speak to
And I
that.
know my predecessor tried to get money from him too.
Right. But I don't know if she's looking for.
We might have a friendlier stack of commissioners this time around.
Yeah,
than
and
we
if we
had.
have to pay personal visits, we will.
Yes, we might have a more open,
Especially if you're talking 20%.
No, I'd do it
Yes.
face to face, Judge.
Yes.
Worth doing. Take Tessa with you.
Maybe not, so she's not very
we should have a more open commissioners this time around.
Anyway,
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up when I noticed, I just looked at it
Appreciate
real
it,
quick
Ron.
yesterday.
Yeah, I'm
and
glad
thought,
you caught that, Ronnie.
That's just, I just know that, and then, I just know how she is too, you know, because everybody's gonna be looking at her, why did you put this in, and she's gonna be like.
We
"Oh,
had
back
talked about it, but then we could not find where we'd paid in the past to see how much it would be.
Yeah,
And I couldn't find the vendor, I couldn't find an amount.
yeah. And we wouldn't have to visit if it wasn't where we're at right now as far as contractually here. You know, I mean, they wouldn't go as deep as this, we'd have
Right.
some pay
Yeah.
there, but not as much.
Show them that fund number again.
This
What
one,
page is it?
page 8.
Right here.
Referee, okay, got it.
Certainly appreciate that, thank you.
So you-
Other questions from department heads? Administration? How about the committee? Council at large?
I just wanna make a comment. I know how hard Heather's been working, and I know you've already said it, but I just wanna thank her again. She took on a mammoth when she took on this position, and I know she's been working her tail off to, work her way through this, and,
On top of
I
learning the
personally
position?
think this is, you know, the most transparent that I mean, I've only been in 2 years, but this is way more easier for me to understand than it was last year's budget. And as a numbers person, I just wanna thank you for that, and I know a lot of your work has been trying to make it as transparent as possible for all of us on the council, and I appreciate that. So,
I kinda wanna ditto that also. I mean, I've been on the finance hearings for a long time. And I was getting nervous there, but when I opened this up and as clean as it looks, I mean, compared to previous years, trying to figure out things, I have many less questions than I normally.
You and I had that conversation before the
Yeah.
meeting that, you know,
Looks good.
you did a nice job of presenting this in a way that we can,
We can
we can
understand.
follow
Us
it.
layman's can understand.
being non-financial people. So thank you. And thank you to all the department heads. I know it's been squeezing blood out of turnips, and then after we put the turnip back down, we picked you up and we squeezed again. And I appreciate that. That just means that this body has to be looking at where we go in the future. are there areas that we can no longer afford to do? Or to afford those things, do we have to look at different revenue streams? And that's something I think we've put those conversations off, and they're hard conversations because nobody wants to talk about increasing revenues. But 20% increases in insurance, they don't mind increasing revenues.
We heard the service director
Well,
speak about.
We've heard the service
Yeah.
director speak about the cost of goods. We've heard both of our fire and police chief talk about the increase in costs of just a simple thing like a car or a truck. So, you know, we've gotta look at, we've been working on the same budget for a long time. So, there's some hard things that the council's gotta handle. Our work's not done. But we have to have a budget that we can take to the state and present. And I think that this body in front of us here today has done a good job of creating that document for us. Yes, ma'am?
Mr. Ricker, do you have any specific questions for, I know there's been a flurry of emails. Do you have any specific questions for us regarding
The
an
CLOCs and
ordinance,
the,
no ordinance, anything else?
I
that we
don't
need?
believe we need the ordinance we were talking about regarding the line item or any of that at this time.
Okay,
So I think you guys have hashed that out, and I appreciate your cooperation in making that happen.
we just wanted to make sure.
I think we're good. I've talked with the auditor. I think we can continue to move things within the framework that we have without creating another line to deal with.
Thank you, and
So,
I wanna say thank you to Heather too. This is how you did it. I don't know, I hope your car is running. You've had a lot on your plate.
if it's not, give me a call. I'll give you a ride
Give you a
next
ride.
time.
We'll have to walk. We'll get you a
Same
ride.
here, Heather, I mean, you just live next street over. Let me
I
know.
enjoyed the walk. It's been really nice weather, so I liked the walk, so,
Well, we appreciate it.
thank you.
Anything else from the committee? From the auditor, Mayor?
So what's the game plan here?
Well, I spoke with the law director, and as long as the auditor is comfortable making the changes that we've discussed here, we could have a motion from this body to basically authorize the auditor to submit the information to the law director to create the ordinance to adopt this budget as amended, and then we could present that as a first reading on our next council meeting. Did I say that right, Marvin?
You did that exactly right, just need a motion on it.
We rehearsed this
Now.
morning.
Yes, we did.
Now, is the committee gonna recommend passage on first reading?
I believe you should.
I believe we should.
We're gonna have 2 more readings.
Yeah. I believe if we have
Yeah,
the
like
numbers
you
here,
guys and all, but
yes,
I'd rather do the past.
And we're legally obligated to pass this budget.
yes.
So it has to be passed. My recommendation would be that it's done on an emergency basis. All the tough work has gone into it.
Yeah,
Merely passing the budget is not where the blood, sweat, and tears is going into.
Right. yeah. And then living within it.
Yes.
So if this body is of the opinion that we should move forward with this budget as amended here today, I would entertain a motion to do that. And then recommend it for first reading.
I
Or
will
for
make that
passage.
motion.
Okay, so moved.
And I'll second.
All right, I would call the roll. Mr. Kreinbel?
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer?
Yes.
I also vote yes, so we will authorize you to submit the proper paperwork to the law director to create the proper ordinances to get this done, and we will have it already put on the agenda for its first reading and hope to pass it as suspension of the rules.
Great.
Is there any other business to come before this body? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are in adjournment at 2:44. Thank you all for your time.
Well done.